Very similar to we're on a mission. It's like we're at war here, a war against mediocrity. And one of our soldiers is missing, but we got a replacement, so we move forward. It's the Mike Sasson Show. No Alex this morning because she is feeling a little under the weather. We send out all of our love to producer extraordinaire Alex Clemence because she is an integral part of the Mike Sasson Show. But for you, I will continue. And in replacement, I have the Godfather, Brian Crawford.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
He is here. It's going to be an all bro show. Neither one of us is wearing pants. It's going to be, it might turn into that Trump video with Billy Bush. I don't know if locker room talk's going to happen.
Locker room talk.
We might, that honestly could be, this could be the, if we were to say it's the Mike Sasson Show locker room talk edition.
Now you get to find out what locker talk really is.
Yes. I would spend most of my time in locker rooms. It never got as bad as those two idiots on that bus. But I digress. It's the Mike Sasson Show here on the River's Edge. Listening on www.riversedgepgh.com live or on TuneIn Radio or on Facebook Live. Also, you can, after the fact, listen to us on SoundCloud, on Google Play, or on iTunes. Again, it's December, so people do get sick. Alex has got a little bit of the case of a cold. Mm-hmm. Nothing serious. But it's funny, this morning, she wanted to be the trooper. She texted me, and she sat there, and she goes, Mike, I feel terrible. She actually told me last night that she was coming down with the cold, and I said, hey, sleep it off, see what's going on. Drink your vitamin C, have a thing of chicken soup. I turned into her mother for about 3 texts. But and then she texted me early this morning and says, Mike, I'll give you a couple options. One, we don't do a show. And I'll be honest with you, if I have to just scream out the window, because I don't know how to use any of this stuff, we're going to have a show. I'll scream out into Millvale. I'll be the town crier. I'll walk around and just yell at the Sunoco about my opinions about current events. We'll have a Mike Sasson Show. 2, she could come in, be sick, be miserable, and basically be looking at me going, Mike, end the show. Mike, end the show. Mm-hmm. Or 3, we could call the Godfather. And so I left it up to her, and I actually physically called her. I go, what do you want to do? And there was this long pause, and I could just sense it because I know people well enough. She wanted me to say, please don't come in. Yeah. She wanted me to say, please don't come in. And I just sat there and went, we'll contact Brian. We'll see what we can do.
I happen to be here editing while I got the text, but one thing that maybe she doesn't understand, or especially our listeners don't understand, is when you are a talk show host, you've got this, you just can't not do your show. Like you said, you just have to get it out there one way or the other, and it'll eat at you if you don't get your release. It's almost therapeutic to do something like this.
There's a reason why guys like Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh and even, the Jay Lenos and the David Lettermans of the world, after they got just literally beyond wealthy, still would go do a show 4 or 5 times a week. Howard Stern right now does not need to do this. He does not need to wake up and have a show from 7 a.m. to 10, 3 days a week, 1 week out of the month, which is what I think he's doing right now for Sirius. Or even Rush Limbaugh. Rush, again, guy gets paid $50 million a year to talk. Great, he has money. If he wanted to retire, he could. He can't. He physically just, he would, it would be emotional withdrawal if he couldn't
Look at Larry King. He retired, and then just a few months later, he's on Russia Today, RT. So
he didn't retire.
No, he never really retired. Well,
no, here's what CNN basically goes, it's time for you to retire.
Yeah.
We're going to bring in
He retired like Bruce Arians retired.
Yeah, he retired because essentially they're like, hey, we really think this Pierce Morgan is the future. Guess what? It proves again, executives don't know anything. No. But on today's show, proving we know something, I'm going to point out, and I want to call out a major U.S. corporation for having the most just evil ad I've ever seen in my life. We're also going to be talking about Antonio Brown now. If you hire him for your own personal event, it's your fault because he's an idiot. We will do a bar thought, because the first thing Brian did come in here when he talked about it, he goes, if you want a bar thought, I have one. And I'm like, you know what? We'll have a guest bar thought.
Why not?
All right, we'll have one of those. Also, today, the top 5 is the top 5 best deals. Because right now it's the holiday season. Everybody's trying to save. Everyone's trying to figure out how they can, if they have to travel, if they have to buy tickets, if they, you're splurging during the holiday season. You're looking for deals. I'm going to give you, in my opinion, the top 5 deals so you can save a little money. Always about positivity. Also, we do have Poop on You. There's plenty of people that need pooped on, and we'll do news and notes. So it will be a very good show. Stick around for it. So, this came right over the wire. We don't have a wire. We need a wire. Why don't we have a wire?
I don't know.
We should need a wire. Okay.
Yeah, we need
mental
a wire.
note. Get a wire. But over my phone, TMZ, because I'm always up on the Hollywood news. If you don't know where our country is right now, just so you understand, Kanye West is currently meeting with Donald Trump. Kanye West is currently meeting with Donald Trump over some reason.
Did he ride the elevator?
I think he did. He rode it up to there, and according to TMZ, Kanye West requested the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so a man who just left the hospital because of mental issues, or basically it was basically because he was mixing up his medications, just got a 15-minute meeting with the president-elect of the United States. Just so you understand where we are in this world, Kanye West can request sit-down meetings with the future leader of the free world. Let that marinate in. Let that sink in.
He did support him in the election.
Is it one of those? There's a
He kind of did. He kind of like hinted at it.
There's a lot of people that kind of. I think anybody who wasn't like adamant for Hillary Clinton was kind of support. That's how you supported Donald Trump in the entertainment business.
Yeah, because
you can't really be a true conservative unless you're just like huge. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger could. Back when he was like, when he was during the late 80s and early 90s, when every movie he was making $100 million, or Bruce Willis when he was Die Hard, yeah, they could stump for George Bush because they were big enough to where Hollywood was just like, you know what, hey, we got to deal with those people. But normally if you're just, you can't really go out and say, hey, I'm supporting Donald Trump. I think most people just assume that Kanye West was just kind of just being Kanye West.
Yeah.
And just saying outrageous things. But no, it turns out actually he has mental problems. So, hey, there you go. But moving on. It was as I mentioned before, the first show that I ever did here, I ended it with a Bill Hicks clip. And the reason why is he's one of the guys that got me into comedy. I remember when I remember watching his special when I was like 12 years old on HBO, loving it. But then I really had kind of forgotten about him. And then for some reason, just out of the blue, I started, it was just this inner thing that made me want to go find him again and watch him again. Mm-hmm. And for about 3 months straight, I just constantly just watched his stuff. And then I started doing open mics. It really was like just something in me just was like, Mike, watch this guy, do this, and then kind of go from there. But I had to think of one of his most famous bits this past week. So I want you to listen to a little bit of Bill Hicks, and then I'm going to explain why I think this is relevant today.
Kill yourself. Thank you. Just a little thought. I'm just trying to plant seeds. Maybe one day they'll take root. I don't know. You try. You do what you can. Kill yourselves. Seriously, though, if you are, do.
Let's start that beginning, because it kind of cut off the beginning.
All right.
Marketing. Kill yourself. Thank you. Just a little thought. I'm just trying to plant seeds. Maybe one day they'll take root. I don't know. You try. You do what you can. Kill yourselves. Seriously, though, if you are, do. No, really. There's no rationalization for what you do, and you are Satan's little helpers, okay? Kill yourself. Seriously. You're the ruiner of all things good. Seriously. No, this is not a joke. He's going to be a joke coming. There's no fucking joke coming. You are Satan's spawn, filling the world with bile and garbage. You are fucked and you are fucking us. Kill yourself. It's the only way to save your fucking soul. Kill yourself.
So basically, if you missed the beginning, more or less, he said, if you're in marketing or advertising, kill yourself. All right, and I had that feeling this week when I saw an ad for Comcast. I don't know if you saw this, Brian.
No, I don't watch TV.
Okay. So good. I might stop because of this ad. So essentially what it is, obviously Comcast, the huge, gigantic cable company out of Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Bunch of things you gotta hate. Huge, gigantic cable companies in Philadelphia.
Yes. Two awful things.
They have a gigantic, huge building. The biggest building in Philadelphia.
And it was at least partially taxpayer funded as well.
Of course it was. Because Fast Eddie Rendell probably put it up there.
Yep.
And former mayor, former gangster out of Philadelphia. That scumbag. But, if you ever drive into Philadelphia, you see this gigantic, just huge building. That's the Comcast building. That's where your late fees go if you have cable. That's where if you buy pornography and you buy back in the day when it wasn't free on the internet.
Yes.
That's what built that building. And obviously your taxpayer dollars as well. So they have this ad. It starts out with these two elderly people reading their 12-year-old niece's tweets, which, by the way, don't ever do.
No.
Don't ever read a 12-year-old girl's tweets. It's never good. You're not going to get a better idea of your 12-year-old niece's thoughts by reading her tweets. You're just actually going to think that your 12-year-old niece has a head injury. Because no 12-year-old girl tweets stuff that's like intellectually like, I believe that foreign policy wise. No, it's all just like codes and stuff like that. And they're all trying to score drugs. That's all it is. So one of the tweets that he reads is, going into the bowels of hell where there are no movies and there is no Wi-Fi, also known as Grandma's house.
Oh my God.
So Grandma and Grandpa are reading this and are horrified, thinking, oh no, our little 12-year-old niece doesn't want to come to our house because we don't have the coolest, neatest stuff in the world. So what do they do to solve the problem? They call Comcast.
Wow.
And they hook the whole house up with a big, toy and so their TV has every movie that's ever been discussed and their Wi-Fi is powerful. And the whole point is that then the kid comes in and they show that, hey, we're cool. We have the newest thing. And then they sit down and they watch the two movies that they watched was Home Alone and It's a Wonderful Life. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, every human being in this world has at one time received via DVD as a gift during Christmas, Home Alone or It's a Wonderful Life. So those two movies don't need to be on demand.
No.
Okay, everybody has those two movies. But the fact that they chose those two. But here's why it's essentially every advertiser, most advertisement is based upon trying to make you feel bad about something you don't have that you really don't need in order for you to spend money that you really don't have or you don't have to spend, but you feel that because if you don't, people won't love you. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what this ad was. This ad was geared towards old people who don't have the newest cable, that, hey, your niece, your granddaughter, whatever, doesn't want to show up to your house because your cable sucks. And no one will ever love you. Your granddaughter will routinely try to miss you, and you'll die alone if you don't have the newest Comcast bundle. And I'm just like, the only thing I thought of was that Bill Hicks, kill yourself.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what you're putting into the world. That's what, not that, hey, this is, here's the thing. If they would have just cut off the first part and would have made it that the kid shows up to the house and they start to watch movies because they have the Comcast.
Sure.
That'd have been okay. But they had to add the first part. They had to add the part about the little girl saying, I don't want to go to Grandma's house because her Wi-Fi sucks. Okay? Toughen up. You don't go to Grandma's house because it has great Wi-Fi.
No.
You go to Grandma's house because Grandma's there. Okay? She's going to die soon. Talk to her about how it was to live through the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. Okay? Talk to her about that. I almost said the Depression because that's how my grandmother
grew up through the Depression, yeah.
I always have to figure out when, because sometimes grandparents are now like people that were smoking weed in the 60s. So I kind of have to figure that out. But yeah, talk to your grandma. She's, she's not going to be with us that long. Great, your wife, you might have to use up your data if you want to tweet. You know what? Stop tweeting on Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay? But don't make your grandparents have to pay $150 a month for the next 2 years.
When they're already on a limited budget.
Yeah. They already have, they're on Social Security or they're on pensions. They don't have this. You're going to make them spend $150 a month for the bundle because the 2 times a year that you show up to their house, you need Wi-Fi so that you can, you can live stream you getting socks from grandma. That's the whole point of grandma. Grandma doesn't give you great gifts. Grandma gets you socks. Grandma gives you, the whole point of going to grandma's house is just to experience grandma, because she's not going to be there that long. I'm not down. I'm down to now one grandparent. Mm-hmm. Okay? So eventually these people will go. But the fact that Comcast tried to get to the heart of elderly people, tried to get to the point of trying to make them feel bad that they didn't have the newest and best cable, is pure evil. So again, Comcast, looking into the camera, if you came up with that ad, kill yourself. Okay, moving on. Antonio Brown. It was a story last week, and I have an interesting, I hope an interesting thought about it. So you might have seen it on the news. It was on WTAE. Like any Steeler, especially one that's immensely as popular as Antonio Brown, during their off days, they go do public appearances.
Yes. Now,
the way it works is they've got people, someone says, hey, we'd like Antonio Brown to do an autograph signing at XYZ place. What it would cost? And they go, okay, you get him for 90 minutes. He's going to sign XYZ. He needs this, and it's, going to be $30,000, whatever, $10,000, $15,000, depending on what the quote is. So WTAE did a story where some woman was going to a Planet Fitness in North Huntington, where Antonio Brown was supposed to make an appearance.
That's a nice Planet Fitness, by the way. I've been there. Yeah.
And that's probably why they wanted to bring Antonio Brown in, to get people to come in and see the equipment and everything like that. So, obviously, Antonio Brown, great wide receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers, coming in. Line forms up. He was supposed to be there at like 4 p.m., 5 p.m., still not there. Shows up, supposed to be there for 90 minutes, only stays there for a half hour, isn't very cordial, isn't very, nice to the people, just signs and kind of gets out of, and again, leaves in a half hour when he's supposed to be there for 90 minutes. Now, again, this is news. This is on WTAE News. And I know you're sitting there saying, Mike, you're going to now rip into Antonio Brown. You're going to sit there and say what a horrible human being he is. You already know that. That's a douchey thing to do. Okay?
I wonder if he would do that to his grandma.
Knowing Antonio Brown at this point, yes, he would. If at this point, Antonio Brown's grandma has to put up $50,000 for him to show up for 90 minutes, and he only stays for a half hour. But here's the point I was thinking.
With his Lego hair.
With his Lego hair, yeah. Oh, by the way, the guy, you know what he is. He's a typical, self-centered professional athlete at the peak of his fame. Mm-hmm. If you saw his car ad with Larry Richard, and I've met Larry Richard. Larry Richard, pure class. Nicest guy you're ever going to meet.
I've gathered that. I have not met him, but
yeah,
comes across.
Yeah, absolutely. Great guy. True professional. He's at a car dealership. Okay, a car dealership, a family-run business worth millions of dollars. They hire Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown shows up, not wearing a suit, hand in pockets, and you could tell that they were just sitting there going, how are we going to work with this guy? So Larry Richard does the whole thing. It's like, hey, we're here at blah, 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 blah. And hey, I'm here with Antonio Brown, Steeler wide receiver. Hey, Antonio Brown, how's business? And he just sits there in the thing. He just goes, it's booming. That's his line.
Oh,
and then he drives away in his brand new car that he got in his hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's beside the point. Here's the point that when I saw this, here's what I was thinking. The Steelers run the media in this town.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that story makes the local news unless the Steelers let it.
Sure.
Okay? Because here's the thing. I don't care if you sit there and say, no, they can run any story. No. If the Steelers would find out that a local station was going to run a story that could hurt the brand of the Pittsburgh Steelers, a phone call would be made and that story would be completely squashed.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it wasn't, in my mind, points to one thing. The Steelers are trying to make a point to Antonio Brown.
Okay.
The Steelers are trying to say to Antonio Brown, hey, if you don't start acting like a better teammate in the locker room and in the community, we will hurt your paycheck. we will find ways to make life more difficult for you. Okay? Because I've been in sports media. I was in sports media for a little while, been like that. The Steelers have that kind of reach. Okay? And even if they don't even make the phone call, just the threat of losing access to the biggest entity in this town keeps reporters in line.
Sure.
And the fact that that story got out is because one thing that has now started to come out about Antonio Brown is like Ben Roethlisberger in his interviews are starting to say, yeah, we talked to him about his end zone celebrations. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked to him about all of these things. We talked to him. The Steelers are trying to make a point to Antonio Brown. Because when I saw that story, I was like, how is this news? Professional athlete acts immature. Yeah, that's what a lot of them do. Now, I'm not saying all, because I'm a former athlete, and I'll just be honest with you. I remember I had this buddy who used to bounce at a bar down on the south side where a lot of Steelers would hang out. And everyone would always ask him the same question, hey, what are the Steelers really like? And here's what always his answer would be. They're dudes. Mm-hmm. They're just guys.
People. There's rotten ones and then there's good ones.
There's 50, some of them are dorks, some of them are cool, some of them are conceited, some of them are morons, some of them are really smart. But yeah, they're a collection of 50 guys. Now you add in the fact that they all have money. That's a little bit of a difference. But for the most part, some of them are, the guys that you think are nice people typically are nice people. Mm-hmm. The people that you see on the news going to Children's Hospital, all that kind of stuff, typically, yeah, they're nice people. And if you see them in a bar, if you treat them with respect and you just say, hey, how you doing, blah, 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 they're going to sit there and go, hey, how you doing? Sure. And then there are ones that are just complete morons and they're self-centered and all that kind of stuff. So again, I don't understand why this TAE story even got on, but then I thought of it. They're trying to make a point to this guy.
Yeah.
They're trying to say to him, hey, watch it, because we could absolutely ruin you if you don't watch it.
Especially because that career has such a short window of when you can bring that cash in.
And that's one of the reasons why I never, ever, ever crap on a guy in the entertainment business when he's trying to make his money.
Yeah.
Okay? Like right now in the comedy world, everybody's kind of saying Kevin Hart's, he's not a comedian anymore. He's doing too many movies. He's doing it. He understands that, you know what? This might be my time. This might be the 5 years where I make the most money to where not only I can take care of myself, but I could set my family up for the next couple generations to where they could have a life that, could be amazing.
Plus, your life changes, too. Look at Eddie Murphy. He's a completely different actor now than he was when he was younger. He's got a family to think about and things like that. So,
Eddie Murphy's a great case because during his 5 years, he did some great movies, but he also did some real crap ones.
Yeah.
But he got his 5 years, he made his money, and once you made your money, now you could be like, okay, I've got that base, now I can be a little bit more selective. Mm-hmm. Now I can take a couple years off if I'm not getting the scripts I want, and then ultimately, make better choices later on in my life.
Sure.
Whereas Antonio Brown and professional athletes, just like you said, they don't have that choice. Okay, Antonio Brown has to figure out, and someone's probably told him this, hey, you've got maybe the next 5 years to make really good money. All right, he's like 28 years old. And remember, his first contract, he was a 6th round pick, so it wasn't that great. Then he signed a second deal, which was nice, but still not, he's not getting paid what he's worth.
Well, they also got him signed right before he really exploded.
He signed like almost borderline the McCutcheon deal.
Yeah.
He signed the deal that, at the time, because remember, the big controversy was it was either him or Mike Wallace. Mm-hmm. And they signed Antonio Brown. They're like, what are they doing? Mike Wallace is fast. And they're like, yeah, trust us, we're the Steelers. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And
they were right.
Yeah, we're right. And, Mike Wallace went off and pretty much until this year really did nothing outside of Pittsburgh. And then he just essentially just went to Pittsburgh East, Baltimore, and now he's starting to do some things again. But I don't ever crap on the fact that Antonio Brown's trying to make his money. Mm-hmm. Now, does he act like an immature idiot? Yeah. My point, again, is that the Steelers are trying to rein him in a little bit, saying, hey, we could make life difficult for you.
Sure.
Because now, if you're going to book Antonio Brown, you're probably going to put some things in the contract where it says, okay, if you do not stay for 90 minutes, you will forego the money. If you do not show up within 15 minutes of your designated time, there will be a penalty. All these other kinds, which will affect his money because now that's known throughout the city that, hey, this is how he's going to act. And if the Steelers could have sat there and went, hey, don't go through that. That's going to hurt his money. They're trying to make a point with him. Now, again, never hate on a guy trying to make his money, but I think it's very interesting what they're trying to do with him, especially trying to kind of rein him in right now. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back,
I do have a quick few comments if you would like to hear from the audience.
Go ahead, absolutely.
Alex is actually listening, and she says, luckily we have good, thoughtful Steelers like D'Angelo Williams, who stayed longer at a signing at Steel City downtown to talk to his fans dealing with breast cancer. And
that's where Alex works downtown, so obviously support her, support them, and obviously support D'Angelo Williams. Hope he comes back from his knee injury. Hope he can be part of the stretch run here because he's obviously a big, huge help. But, yeah, absolutely. They're all just guys. They're all just people. There are people that are, obviously D'Angelo Williams' life has been touched by breast cancer, so that's something that he truly believes in. So it's, again, I make the point again. I'm not painting this huge brush that all professional athletes are jerks. Again, there are some good ones, but again, thank you very much. And, Alex, I hope you are feeling better. Go ahead.
And dealing with Grandma's House, Ed Bailey of Drinking Partners with the Epicast Network and another comic, he said that everyone should start using the hashtag I don't want to go to Grandma's house. So there you go. We got a hashtag available if you're looking to trend.
I want that hashtag to be I don't want to go to Comcast Grandma's house. I want to go to real Grandma's house. I want to go to Grandma's house where there is no Wi-Fi. I want to go to Grandma's house where there's a VHS. I want to go to Grandma's house where she has the old school. You might even be. I don't know if you remember the cable box where it had the buttons.
Oh yeah,
and
you had the box TV where it was like a piece of art.
Yeah, and like literally, if you wanted like channel 20, you had to take the last one, put it in the middle, and then you had because there's only like 15 buttons.
Yeah,
and so you had to go. Like my grandma's house in New Jersey had that probably until 2001.
Yeah, see, my grandmother had the big box that sat on the floor that looked like a piece of furniture. Mm-hmm. She had that type of TV.
That TV those are the type of TVs that'll last nuclear wars.
Yeah,
those are the type of now you get the flat screens. And people come in furious, especially older people will come in like into a store when I worked at Sears, and people will be furious like, I bought this TV 8 years ago and it's already looking like crap. And the guy would just sit there and be like, yeah, these things are only supposed to last about 7 to 10 years. Yeah. And then they just blow up. But the point I always make with those people is, how much did you pay for it?
Sure.
Like right now you can go into a store, get a really nice TV for about $1,000. Mm-hmm. That TV that you saw at Grandma's house that was like the piece of furniture probably cost about $1,000. And I'm not talking about $1,000 in today's money.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 1978 that cost $1,000.
Definitely.
Because everyone always remembers things being cheaper, but you always got to remember that obviously because of inflation, things are different. Like one time when I worked at Sears, people would always talk about how expensive appliances were. So I Googled how expensive appliances were back in the day. And I saw this. It was at like a technology expo in 1922 in Chicago. It was the original Kenmore washing machine. Mm-hmm. It cost $79. Now you think like, oh, $79, what a deal.
Yeah.
In modern money, that was $2,500.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
Big difference. Yeah, you can't go to Sears or Home Depot or Lowe's and find a washing machine for $2,500. Okay? A good washing machine might be a good one is like $1,000. A great one is like $1,500 to $2,000. But $2,500, and that was the high tech in 1921. Yeah. So it's all relative. Again, any comment you come in there, how weird, how stupid, how silly, doesn't matter. We'll read it up on the air. So just put it up on there. We're gonna be right back with more Mike Sasson Show. Again, we will have a bar thought. It'll just be bar thought with Brian. That's right. We'll also be doing our top 5.
We'll manage.
We'll manage. Again, Alex, feel better. It's the River's Edge. We'll be right back.
Would you be interested in developing conscious choice? Would you be interested in creating reactions rather than waiting for one to come? Would you be interested in combining serendipity and synchronicity? Would you be interested in making 1 + 1 = 3? Would you be interested in finding out about full impact mindfulness? If so, I challenge you to join myself, Jim Ellermeyer, a cognitive behavioral health therapist, every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. on the River's Edge, where we will challenge you to allow us to help you help yourself to fully participate in your life. Let the adventure begin.
Oh, you hear that song? It's UB40. It's Bar Thoughts. Bar Thoughts and Experiences. This time with Brian. Brian also is a big drinker. Alex is a big drinker. Brian's a big drinker. Loves just, if you ever know, he's a party guy. So
Just drinking a glass of wine before the show.
That's how we get ready for the show.
That's how we do it.
I'm drunk now. We're here on the River's Edge, www.riversedgepgh.com, or on TuneIn Radio, or on Facebook Live. And then after the fact, it turns into a podcast. It turns from a caterpillar to a beautiful butterfly on Google Play, on iTunes, or on SoundCloud. It's the Mike Sasson Show. No Alex today. Alex is feeling a little under the weather again. Hope Alex is feeling better. But we have the godfather of the River's Edge, Brian, with us. And Brian, you just heard the theme song.
Yes.
Again, he's a big drinker, so he has some bar thoughts and experiences. So a very special bar thought with Brian. Brian, go ahead.
I stumbled into the bar the other day, and as you know, the weather's changed, and a chill struck my spine as I sat at the bar counter, because many bars in Pittsburgh have a very, very long-shaped room, so you don't have a lot of space to get away from the door. So every time someone opens the door, a draft hits you, and a chill hits your spine, and you shiver and shake in the freezing Arctic temperatures of Pittsburgh.
By the way, this already sounds like a short story. It sounds like you're reading like something that you would like, and then walked in a man.
But I didn't rehearse at all.
Okay.
Like, I literally, this is just like...
It's awesome. I'm getting into it.
The whole time I'm thinking, like, how am I going to present this?
Yeah, it sounds like a French movie that I'd be forced to watch in college, but go ahead.
So my thing is we need to come up with some sort of system to protect the clientele from freezing sitting at the bar, because it's an uncomfortable situation to be in. So I suggest maybe that we put up some sort of like a play tarp outside with all sorts of fur coats and I don't know, make it like a game to get into the bar, and maybe when you walk in, a herd of puppies attack you and warm you up, and I don't know, if that doesn't work, just slam on the gas and shoot up the CO2 emissions, and eventually things will warm up.
Here, I agree that is a problem. Especially at any building in Western Pennsylvania, it has to be taken into consideration the wind and how it would hit you. Because a lot of buildings, they don't do that.
No.
They especially like again, when I worked retail, there was this door near where we worked that was automatic. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it would just open it up and it wouldn't close, and if it was like one of those days where it was like -10 and the wind was whipping and all that kind of stuff, and the door was left open for a little bit too long, the area around us would turn into just literally the ice planet of Hoth from Empire Strikes Back. And so I think there has to be something that needs to be done.
Yes.
I agree. Maybe you could put a plastic, like you walk in through like a plastic tarp or something like that. Or what I was thinking of, what the bartender would probably say is, get drunker. I think that's what they would say. Get so lit that you don't notice.
You don't know.
The problem is, Brian, you're not getting drunk enough.
Not getting that. That is true. Yes.
I
should have skipped the food and just went like straight to the whiskey.
Yeah. Or that's the other thing. What were you eating food wise?
Steak and shrimp, and I was living it up.
Okay, but what is the best cold weather food? I was thinking, to be honest with you, soup, but especially chili.
I was thinking the same thing.
I'm a huge, especially at the bars. Most bars in Pittsburgh have a pretty decent chili.
Especially if you can add hot sauce to it.
Yeah.
That makes it great.
I'm never a big fan of the hot sauce. I'm not
really?
of the chili. I'm a big fan of the onions.
Okay.
Not a big fan of the cheese. Because then it gets a little too messy, and then it starts sticking to the spoon and stuff like that. But I personally, here's my thing. Okay, so to answer your question and to answer people's questions out there, and by the way, if you have any suggestions, go on to
please.
Facebook Live.
Very troubling.
Very troubling. Here's my answer. Number one, get drunker. 2, order something that could possibly warm you. Jalapeno poppers. Mm-hmm. That could be a good one. Chili. That's a good warm weather. Now, there's certain things that are not good warm weather. A cold sandwich, a typical, a club sandwich, probably wouldn't be a good one.
Sure, yeah.
Other things that you would normally eat at a bar. I don't personally think that wings would be a great, because it's too much fun. It's too many hands. It's too much fumbling, all that kind of good stuff.
And it's also not, I think the liquid-based foods, whether it be, not that chili has to be liquid, but it's got somewhat of that substance to it.
Okay, now not to interrupt you, but this is something that I've always asked people. It's kind of like one of those things, is a hot dog a sandwich? I say it is, okay? I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
But is chili soup?
That's what I mean. It's borderline.
I think it's soup.
You think it's soup?
It's in the soup family.
I would agree it's in the family. I would say it's a cousin of soup. I wouldn't say it's pure soup.
What distinguishes it from soup, though?
You could put it on things and it's not going to, soup out. You know what I mean? Like, you could put it on that hot dog and it's going to stay on that hot dog. It's
okay, but that just means the consistency of it. Like, you could theoretically, I remember, Campbell's Chunky Soup for a while. One of the things that they were trying to sell to people would be, if you wanted a quick meal, you get some mashed potatoes, you pour, some, beef barley soup on top of it, and all of a sudden you have, a cheap shepherd's pie type deal.
Can we compromise?
Sure.
Can it be the tomato of soup? Tomato is technically a fruit, but everyone uses it as a vegetable.
I agree with that. And then the thing about it, I think that all chili is just tomato soup with a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah.
It's just with beans and meat and everything. That's why if you think that tomato is, again, tomato soup, which, by the way, eating tomato soup without having it as a dipping apparatus, I'm kind of against.
It's very good with bread.
Well,
dip it with like a French baguette or something like that.
To be perfectly honest with you, the only time I have tomato soup is when it is corresponding with a grilled cheese.
Okay.
To me, tomato soup is just it's essentially like dipping. More or less, what I've created is mozzarella sticks. Mm-hmm. Only, because then you have the marinara sauce. Essentially, all tomato soup is the marinara sauce for the grilled cheese, which is the home version of the mozzarella sticks. But I would say chili, again, a good cold weather. So again, going back to what I would do, again, I said again about 15 times, I admit it, it's a crux, I'll deal with it. But with those bars, they have to do something. To be perfectly honest, how about this? Normal at the local bars. Let's make it that there has to be some sort of law that when it gets under a certain temperature, they have to offer at a discount chili.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
That's something we could get behind.
Do you think, though, that maybe just one bar, that could be like a funhouse bar, though? Do you think that would be fun? Well, that would be cool.
I think your idea could be done in the middle of July.
That's true.
I would love to, when I walk into a bar, run through fur coats and have puppies come up and...
Yes.
I mean, what?
Lick you in the face.
Yeah. When is a puppy...
That's why Grist House is so popular. They have all the dogs.
Yes. Now, obviously, something would have to be done with the feces, but these are just minor details. Me and Brian are the big picture guys.
That's right.
We're the innovators. We're like the Steve Jobs. We're just the guy who sits there, walks into the room filled with dorks, and sits there and goes, I want to put every record ever on my phone, make it happen, and then they walk out. And then they go, how the hell are we going to make this done? And then 10 minutes later, we walk in and we just start screaming, why isn't it done already?
Yes.
That's what we do. That's what we do. So again, thank you very much, Brian. That was an excellent bar thought. And you know what? Something that we could... Right now, we understand that this show, the Mike Sasson Show, is required listening at most architecture schools throughout the Northeast.
Because of that segment.
Because of this segment. Yeah. And prior, honestly...
No, that's what I mean, leading up, this segment in general.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic ideas. I mean, the laser boob one was... That was really great.
And you don't think that I'm working on laser boobs right now? That's why Alex is missing right now, because she's not sick. She's actually at a lab right now.
She wants us to think she's sick.
Yeah, no, well, no. Okay, full disclosure, she's at a lab right now working with scientists to develop all of these technologies. So, Godspeed, Alex. But no, that was a very good bar thought. Again, if you have any answers for cold weather bar patronage, you can go onto the Facebook Live if you're listening or watching on the Facebook Live. Next up, my top 5. Play some Europe. Today, it is the top 5 best deals in the modern world. Again, right now we're all trying to save a buck. We're all trying to buy our loved ones those presents that they will not ever use. We're all trying to prove our love to people that we have the inability to express love to. We'll do it through commerce. It's the American way. So we're all trying to save money. So I'm trying to help you out with the top 5 values in the modern world. Number 5, 2 things. It's tied for 5.
Okay.
The McDonald's McDouble and the Wendy's 4 for 4. To me, those are tremendous deals. Now, obviously, the McDouble, they actually had a New York Times article one time saying that the McDouble could end world hunger.
Oh.
Because the fact of the matter is, it's the fact that it's so many good calories, so cheaply made, but so good. If they use the same technology, the same logistics that make that sandwich possible and took that to the starving peoples of the world, they could possibly end world hunger. Now, obviously, McDonald's said, kiss my ass, we're not telling you how we do it, but we in the Western world reap the benefits. That's why the McDouble is one thing. Now, if you don't know about the Wendy's 4 for 4, the Wendy's 4 for 4 is you have a choice. Again, America choice. You either get the crispy chicken BLT or the bacon junior bacon cheeseburger, fries, 4 nuggets, which you can make spicy because it is getting a little cold, and a drink for $4.
Okay.
That's not bad. If you want a lunch,
price-wise,
price-wise, for $4, getting those 4 items, a good solid meal. Also, you're going to have the sandwich, you have the nuggets, then you have the fries, then you have the drink. It's not bad for $4. Because right now, you could get just like a sandwich, fries, and a drink. It's like $5, $6, depending on which sandwich you get. To be able to get those 4 things for $4 and a little bit of tax, not bad. So, again, tied for 5 is the McDonald's McDouble and the Wendy's 4 for 4.
Is there any nutritional value at all to either of those?
No.
Okay.
No.
That was my thought.
They're going to end your life 20 years earlier. But those, always remember, those are years at the end of your life, and those aren't really good anyway. So always remember that when someone says, oh, you're going to live forever. Yeah, you ever see the people walking around the mall with the walker?
I don't want to live forever.
Yeah, you ever see those people?
Yeah.
They're crutching around. That's you. Because you didn't eat the McDoubles.
There was an old lady once. Like, my grandmother was always in the hospital. We called it Grandma's Hospital. And then there was, like, an old lady who was 20 years older than her in her 90s. And she's down there, like, bussing tables. So, if I'm like her, it's okay. But if I'm not her, then...
And I bet you $20. The reason why she was able to do that was whiskey and fast food. I bet you if you talked to her... Did you ever talk to her and say...
I did not, no.
Whiskey, fast food, and... getting laid. That's what she did.
Yes.
She was like a flapper in the 20s. She lived life, and so she's just keep going. All right, so that's number 5. Number 4, strippers. Great value. Here's why. It's still only tip $1. If you went to a strip club in the 80s, it was $1. 90s, $1. 2000s, $1. 2016, it's still just $1. That is great. And it reminds me of a story one time. I was out in McKees Rocks at the strip club out there, and enjoying the show, and the CMU students come walking in. And it was the one, American student showing like 2 or 3 foreign students their first strip club. So the dancer comes over and does her little dance, and she's like, hey, now it's time to pay up. The foreign guy brings out his wallet and is about to hand her probably about $80.
Okay.
Not knowing
wow.
that the show he just got is only $1. So I went, no. Took out $1 and put it on the stage, and I go, keep that.
Now, did she give you a dirty look?
Oh, she hated me.
Oh, I'm sure.
She was like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm just like, you know what? First off, she didn't want to work.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You did. I had to teach this young man. This is why he went to school in the United States. So
to learn these things.
To good people like me to teach him. I'm like, no. $1, more dance. $1, new girl. $1. That's it. That's why it's the greatest value in the world. God bless America. It's still only $1. Again, strippers, great value. Number 3, and something that I believe is, if you were to sit there and say, what are the 2 things that are the biggest advances in your lifetime, Mike? 1 would be cell phones. 2, free refills. I don't know if you remember fast food places before free refills.
They give free refills now? Well, I know the ones with the fountains, but
exactly.
I thought, yeah, okay.
That's it. Well, maybe I'm big enough and they just give them to me anyway.
Yeah.
But like,
I didn't know that they did that.
When was the last time you were in a fast food place?
It's been a long time.
You need to go more because they're amazing places. Okay. But I remember when I was a kid at the Waterworks Mall, they built a Taco Bell. We weren't giant taco fans at the time. We had not been exposed to alcohol. So that's really when you get exposed to Taco Bell, is when you get drunk for the first time and you realize you can fill up for like
fast
$3.
food is good for that.
Yes.
Especially if you're drunk.
Yes. But we walk in there for the first time and we see the fountain. Mm-hmm. And we're like 12 years old and we're just like, what's going on here? And the lady behind there just sits there and we order our food and hands us a cup. And we're like, we just get our own soda? And she just goes, yeah. It's free refills. We stayed there for 3.5 hours just enjoying our soda. And we thought every time we went up there that someone was going to come up to us and say, hey, get out of here. No one ever did.
Nice.
It was one of the great moments. And then if you notice, now McDonald's has the same thing. Burger King has the same thing. All that kind of, everybody has the same thing. It's one of the greatest values. You could sit there, order a medium drink. By the way, it did kill the whole concept of getting a large drink.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're just like, now essentially if you get a large drink, if you're going to be in the dining room, you're pretty much just admitting that you just don't want to stand up and get up that many times.
Yeah.
But you get the medium drink, you sit there, you get and now the other advance is Coca-Cola came out with the special.
I've seen that. Yes.
You can find the most obscure drink, like it's just like a TV that you can find, and it's that's incredible. That's up there. To me, honestly, that passes the cell phone. It's 1, free refills with that apparatus, and 2, the cell phone for the greatest inventions of my lifetime. But again, still a tremendous value. If you don't have a lot of money, you get a cheap value meal. You sit there for 3 hours, you read the newspaper, you do whatever, and you just keep on drinking soda. Amazing what that happened.
Were you ever cut off from
Never.
free refills? No.
Never.
See, I was once.
Really?
At an Eaton Park. And we were there, and we kept getting coffee, and we were planning this bike trip, which is another story. But we're drinking, and eventually the waitress is just like, no more. She stopped giving us coffee. And her tip went down.
That woman just was sick of talking to you.
Probably.
There was if you would have gone up...
Is anyone ever really sick of talking to me?
Well, this is why this show is going to be kind of cut off. But no, that's a waitress who was just sick of... That was a personal decision by her.
Yeah.
If you'd have sent to corporate Eaton Park and said, we're never coming in here, the only reason we walked in here is because we knew every place has been giving free cup of coffee forever. Now, one thing that does tick you off is if you go to like a Chicago or a New York or downtown Pittsburgh, and you assume that they have free refills, and then all of a sudden you get the bill and it shows like, okay, $6 for Coke. And you're like, what are you talking about? It's only $2. Like, oh, well, you got 3. I'm like, this isn't free refills?
That's crazy.
Am I in Soviet Russia?
That's right, because they have that law, right?
Yeah. You got to tell people. That's the thing. Okay, but free refills, great value. Number 2, and I know this is a shameless plug, listening to the River's Edge. What an incredible value. Great local talk, great local bands, everything you ever want. What do we ever ask from you? What do we, nothing. We give, and we give. That's all Brian does. It's all I do. It's all Alex did. That's why Alex is sick. She just gave so much that she needed a week off.
Yeah.
That's all we do here. Great music, everything like that. You can't beat it.
You won't find the Mike Sasson show on old-fashioned radio.
Absolutely not. You will find tons of commercials and people kissing ass. That's what you'll see on the old radio. You want new radio. You want the king of new radio, Brian Crawford over there, and me, the court jester of new radio, Mike Sasson, and then the queen of course is sick right now, Alex Clemence. But number 2, listening to the River's Edge, and number 1 value, just living in this city. And one thing that I always get when people come here from out of town is they're always amazed and how inexpensive it is. Mm-hmm. And in little things that we don't even notice. Like getting drunk in this city is relatively cheap compared to other cities. There are people that come into New York specifically to have nights out and get drunk. Mm-hmm. Because they're just sitting there going, wait, I get this mixed drink for like $1? Are you serious? In New York, this is like $6. You ever get with a guy from New York? Those who, in New York, it's like $6. And it's like $5. Like, yeah, you're not there anymore. You're here. Enjoy your $1.50 drink. Enjoy your $2 draft. In New York, this bottle is usually $8. Well, it's $2 here. Shut up. Drink it. That's what it is. That's what. And then someone walks into a house like, how much? Oh, this house. It's $650 per month. I pay $8,000 a month and I live in a broom closet with 3 other people. Yeah. Okay. Great. Wonderful. You did that because you get to feel superior to the rest of the world, and the rest of the world just kind of sits there and goes, yeah, great. Have fun.
One thing I love about this city, to kind of go off of what you were saying, is they have all these fashion trends in New York, and my one friend, he's like all big into like staying in with what's fashionable and everything else, and he said that's one thing that sucks about this area is no one cares about that. And I said that's one thing that's awesome about this area is we don't feel the need to kiss New York's ass. People here just live their life. They don't worry about having with the exception of Lawrenceville, they don't worry about having the the perfectly crafted hair in the right spot. They're just themselves.
Here's the thing.
They live.
I agree. To me, when you say, what is a hipster? Mm-hmm. If an alien were to come down here, I always play this game with myself. If an alien were to come down here and say, explain to me what this hipster, who is this? I would say it's a pretentious person who is inauthentically looking for authenticity. Mm-hmm. They're trying to, and to me, being the most, like they're sitting there, oh, you have the most, we have this organic ketchup because we're looking for authentic taste. We want this authentic. You're the complete opposite of authentic. Yes. The most authentic you can be is just wake up, put on a shirt, and walk outside. That's authentic you. Not worrying about, oh, am I wearing the right jeans? Am I wearing the right shoes? Am I wearing the right hat? Am I wearing this? Am I eating the right thing? Am I following the right politicals? No. It's just get up, be you, eat something simple and good.
Yes. And
live your life and create great things. Because one thing that always people forget, great things are not created in New York and LA. They're showcased there. Mm-hmm. That's what everyone has to remember. If you think about every person that you think is New York, they're not really New York. They just went there to get showcased. And I agree, you do eventually have to go there to the coast if you want to get showcased in front of the industry. Mm-hmm. It's just a fact of life. Now that is becoming less and less important because of things like this, the internet and stuff like that. But everyone always assumes Bob Dylan would, New York, Greenwich Village. No, he's Minnesota. Mm-hmm. He just came to Greenwich Village. Richard Pryor, he's L.A. No, he's Illinois. That's who he is. Sam Kinison, he's from Illinois. You just go to L.A. or New York to get showcased. You create your persona on the road.
Sure.
That's where you figure out who you are. Even Howard Stern, Mr. New York, he created his persona in Hartford, Connecticut, and Detroit, Michigan, mm-hmm. and Washington, D.C., and then got showcased in New York. Same thing with, another radio. I mean, it doesn't matter what you think about his politics, but Rush Limbaugh.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh, Sacramento, Kansas City. Then he went to New York and got showcased, and that's how he came. Again, New York, L.A. are the showcase cities. One time I remember going to the Warhol Museum, and we were with this tour guide and was showing us the whole thing. And I asked the question, I go, why do you feel that this museum should be here? Mm-hmm. Because if you went up to someone, they would sit there and say, well, Andy Warhol, he was not about Pittsburgh. He was New York. He was the New York art scene. This museum should be in New York. This museum should be on the Lower East Side of New York. This museum should be in Brooklyn. This is where it should be where the factory was. And I'm like, and I was thinking about that for a second. I go, no. It had to be here. Mm-hmm. Because the reason why he was so different and he was a pattern break and people found him so interesting was because he came there from a place like Pittsburgh with a different perspective. He just got showcased in New York. He brought a Pittsburgh mentality to the New York art world. That's why his art studio was called The Factory.
Okay.
Okay. Where do you think he got that idea? Maybe because he was surrounded by factories.
Yes.
Okay? They always said that he had an amazing work ethic. He just kept producing art. Where do you think that came from? It's because he grew up in South Oakland. That's why. And why do you think he was so interested in creating pop art and looking at a Campbell's soup can and looking at a Heinz ketchup bottle or a Coca-Cola? Why is that? Because when he was growing up, he didn't go to art studios in Manhattan. His art was the Campbell's soup can. Mm-hmm. That's how he developed. He got showcased in New York, but he was pure Pittsburgh. So again, living in Pittsburgh, great value. All right, review, top 5 best deals. Number 5, McDonald's / the Wendy's 4 for $4. Number 4, strippers, still only $1. Number 3, free refills. Number 2, listening to the River's Edge. And number 1, living in Pittsburgh. Again, any comment, go on to Facebook Live. We will read it out there. Coming up on the Mike Sasson Show, people that need to get pooped on. That's Brian Crawford. My name's Mike Sasson. We'll be right back.
This is Matt Geika, your host of Geik's Got Game, 8 a.m. every Friday here on the River's Edge. I'll take a peek behind the sports media curtain, zoom out for the big picture, and as always, obsess over the details of the sports, teams, and players we love or love to hate. It's Geik's Got Game every Friday at 8 a.m. on the River's Edge.
When you hear that sound, when you hear that music, I hope you're not completely disgusted in turning off the radio, because it's the Mike Sasson Show, and it's now time on the Mike Sasson Show on the River's Edge to do the new segment that is sweeping the country. It's your favorite segment that you won't admit to your people because it is the ultimate in highbrow humor. It is Poop on You. Again, in honor of Alex Clemence, who, my co-host extraordinaire, whenever she hears somebody that she doesn't like, she always talks about poop on that person. So we came a subject of people that need to be pooped on. Again, we're on the River's Edge on www.riversedgepgh.com or on Facebook Live or on TuneIn Radio. And then afterwards, we're on the podcast with iTunes, SoundCloud, or Google Play. All right. Here are the people that I believe this week need to be pooped on. Number 1. This one, we might have one for every week, but Donald Trump this past week, he won Time Person of the Year. And he had a big rally where he was kind of, thanking his people for winning the election. And for some reason, he brings up the fact that why is it that they call it Person of the Year when they used to call it Man of the Year? And he was lamenting the fact that why don't they just call it Man of the Year, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there going, who gives a crap? Why do you care? Obviously, the reason why they did it is because they wanted to sit there and say there's a possibility that a woman could win the award. So they named it the Person of the Year. Who cares? But he literally took about 10 minutes of his... Again, he's the president-elect in the United States, and he's going around, remember when it was called the Man of the Year? Now it's called the Person of the Year. How many people wanted to be Man of the Year? And I'm just like, are you serious? Who cares?
Proving all of his detractors right.
Again, poop on Donald Trump for doing that. Next person that needs to be pooped on is the guy who told kids there is no Santa at the mall in Texas. I don't know if you saw this, Brian, but essentially a pastor in Abilene, Texas, recorded himself on YouTube going to a mall where there was a big line out there to meet Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. And his point was he wanted to tell parents that they're going to hell because they're denying Jesus Christ by telling their kids that there is a Santa Claus, and so literally walked around this mall screaming at the top of his lungs, there is no Santa Claus, this is totally fake, you should be telling your kids about Jesus, blah, 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 blah. Here's my answer. There's a chance you could be telling them about both.
Sure.
Okay? There's a chance that you could say, hey, we're celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, and you're going to get a present from Santa Claus. Boom. That's it. There's your answer. There's a chance you could possibly do both. But no, you have to be an obnoxious idiot, essentially making everybody just feel really good about hating on religion because you sit there acting like an obnoxious jerk. And on top of that, you have to YouTube it. There's no way he could just do it and quietly and be an idiot. No, he has to tell people and put it on YouTube because you can't do anything privately anymore. So he sits there and shows everybody why he's a complete idiot. But yet people will go on Sunday to this guy and listen to this. I don't understand how a human being can spend money, get dressed up, and then go to this man's church when he is walking around a mall trying to ruin children's Christmas. Now, understand, I'm not a huge fan of the whole Santa Claus thing. Personally, the way I would do it is I would say, hey, we're celebrating Jesus' birthday, and I'm your dad, I'm your uncle, I'm your grandfather, whatever, and I bought these things. That's one thing. But if you want to do the whole Santa thing because it's fun, fine. Whatever. Now, I did say to I said to a couple weeks ago, I don't know if you were listening, I've been roped in my family.
I heard, yes, I was listening. Yeah.
So again, I leave it up to my uncle, my brother Tim and my sister-in-law Heidi. I will continue with your Santa Claus ruse if you make it that, yes, I know Santa Claus, but he's black. That's my deal. Because they came up to me and said, oh, Mike knows Santa Claus because he's on the radio and he knows. I'll go, yes, I do. And he's a black man. That's the person who's going to be coming into your home and giving you presents. I will do that. I will not give you this lily white character.
One thing that this guy could do, and instead of going around and telling people that Santa Claus doesn't exist, he could go around and educate people on the historical person that was St. Nicholas. That's something that's been done in my church. It's, this guy, they don't even say whether he does exist or doesn't exist, but they tell the kids this is who St. Nicholas is, this is what he did in the time, and educate them on how it's...
But that wouldn't be obnoxious, Brian.
That's true.
That wouldn't get YouTube views.
No, it would not.
No, not if he just lived a quality life and had a class where or walked around the mall and hand out a leaflet saying, hey, you know what, I have a class in which I teach kids about the true meaning of Christmas, blah, 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 blah. No, that would get no YouTube, and then internet radio shows like mine wouldn't bring up about this obnoxious asshole. So, again, poop on that guy. Yes. And the final people that need pooped on are the people at Plum Area High School who are making a big deal about the fact that they cannot wear Confederate flag gear. Couple things about this. So, did a little research. These people, they were interviewed on KDKA, and I saw the interview, and one of them said, this is our First Amendment right being infringed upon, that we can't say this. Now, here's the thing. I did the research. There actually is a Supreme Court case in the late 60s that basically everybody points to is more or less how they come up with this judgment. It came from the late 60s, and essentially a bunch of kids out in California wore black armbands to protest the Vietnam War, and the principal said, no, go home. You're not allowed to wear that. So they took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and this is what the Supreme Court actually said. If the principal or if the administration believes that there is a reasonable chance that your garb could possibly lead to a disruption in school, then they can say, get out of here. They could say, you're not allowed to wear that. It's not an infringement of the First Amendment. It pretty much falls into the same category of you're not allowed to run into a theater and scream fire when there's no fire, that kind of deal. So my point is, if you want to make the legality case that, hey, this is not going to create a disruption, you're already wrong, because it obviously has created a disruption because there's news cameras outside of your school. So a disruption has already occurred.
Yes.
And you're giving interviews. So that part is already bad. But here's why I think you need to be pooped on. One of the things that I hate when people wear the Confederate flag is they sit there and say, this isn't about racism. Yes, it is. Because here's the point. I remember having this discussion in college because I had a bunch of teammates when I played football who were from down south. And the one thing they would always sit there and say, the Civil War wasn't about slavery. Yeah, it was. It was about states' rights to have slaves. So if someone sat there and went, no, it was about individual freedom. Yes, it was about individual freedom to have slaves. That's what it was about. Now, Brian, you're disagreeing with me?
No, I want to tweak, maybe give my personal take, which is a little tweak of what you're saying. I agree with you halfway. But to me, it wasn't about slavery. Slavery was a tool. It was about power in politics and power in Washington. Because the Republicans didn't want to stop slavery in the South initially. They wanted to stop the spread of slavery, which would have created an imbalance of power in Washington, D.C., thus giving the North much more political pull in national politics than in the South. So it was really a bunch of greedy politicians wanting to hang on to their power. Slavery was the tool that...
Yes, but ultimately, the whole thing overriding was you had a country in which a good percentage of the country you could own a person.
Yes.
And in other parts of the country, you couldn't own a person. But then the Dred Scott case came on and basically said you could bring your slave up north if you bought him down south, which theoretically meant Andrew Carnegie could buy a bunch of slaves from South Carolina, bring them up to Homestead, and said, guess what? I don't need any of you people because I own these people. And then basically making slavery legal everywhere. But again, to say that the Confederate flag was not about slavery, to its point, at its
absolutely
core,
was. Yes.
It was absolutely was. And so, and again, to say that this isn't racist, first and foremost, it's impossible for a white person to look a person in the eye and say the Confederate flag isn't about racism. If collectively every black person in this country would agree that guess what, the Confederate flag isn't about racism, then a discussion can happen. But when two white girls from frickin' Plum High School say it, it doesn't hold a lot of meaning because, again, it wasn't your history that ultimately you're talking about when saying this.
Well, let's hope these kids aren't in AP history because one quote says a lot of these students think it stands for slavery and racism and the Southern flag. I mean, it did fall into that, but really it stood for Southern states. And the flag that they're wearing, the Confederate flag that they're wearing, wasn't even a national Confederate flag. It was the battle flag of Northern Virginia, a battle flag for a specific state. So historically, they're all over the place. And secondly, it absolutely stands for slavery and racism. As you said, it was the core of the divide that split the South from the North.
And ultimately, all these people are trying to do
cause a commotion.
Cause a commotion and be jerks. Mm-hmm. They're trying to essentially get a rise out of people, which ultimately, again, brings up to the point of, is it legal for the principal to do it? Yes, because you're causing a disruption if your ultimate point is to get a rise out of people.
Yes.
So again, poop on these people for being the idiots that they are. Now, do you have anybody that you would like to poop on?
Oh, somebody I would like to poop on. People who sing out loud in the workplace in belch. I mean, I just always have to deal with that at work. That where I work, people think that they're the only one in the building. Meanwhile, there's like probably at least a couple hundred people in the building. And they're just screaming, "Ah!" And that's how they sing. It's very screechy and out of tune and awful.
Under the same guise, a new person that needs to be pooped on. The person that is on the Bluetooth that is talking really loudly while walking through the mall or the store.
Yes.
Because to me, that is one of the most insanely annoying things in the world. Because first and foremost, if you don't see the Bluetooth, you essentially think this person is insane.
Sure.
And secondly, why are they taking a call while walking through Giant Eagle? Because they're trying to send a message to everybody in the Giant Eagle that I must be the CEO of PNC.
Yes.
I must be the president of the United States. I must be the most immensely important human being on the planet, that there is no way that I could possibly just call this guy back after I leave the Giant Eagle. No, I have to take the call now because I'm a mover and a shaker, and I have this technology that makes it that every moment of every day, like I'm Ari Gold from Entourage, I'm setting up $1 million deals. Blah, 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 blah. Again, the ultimate power is to be able to sit there and say, "I'll call you back."
Yeah.
You're a tool of the industry if you don't have a moment to go get some Apple Jacks from the store. That's what people have to understand. To be the ultimate in terms of the highest authority just sits there and says, "I'll call you back."
Yeah.
One of the coolest things...
Wait for me.
One of the coolest things that I've ever heard out of Hollywood is how Bill Murray talks to people in the industry. Nobody knows Bill Murray's phone number. Mm-hmm. And when I mean nobody, I mean nobody. One time there was a guy who was trying to interview him for Rolling Stone. And he got his 1-800 number, because that's what Bill Murray's famous for. He has a 1-800 number that you call him, and you leave a message, and if he wants to call you, he'll call you back. Now, he sat there and went, okay, this has to be a joke. There has to be a real Bill Murray line. So he got in touch with his lawyer, the guy who does his contracts, the guy who's been his lawyer literally since Saturday Night Live. And he calls him up, and he sits there and says, "I'm trying to get a hold of him. I'm trying to do this thing. can you give me the real number for Bill Murray? And he goes, do you have the 1-800 number? And he goes, yes. He goes, that's how I get a hold of him.
That's fantastic.
And I'm just like, that just shows you how much power Bill Murray has. Because if he was just like a normal actor, most people would just sit there and say, forget him.
Yeah.
We're going to deal with somebody else. No. You want to do another Ghostbusters, you call the 1-800 number, I'll listen to the voicemail, and if I want to call you back, I'll call you back. Again, so poop on the people that walk in and talk on the phone or talk with the Bluetooth. Again, you're not showing that you're just this insanely powerful person. You're actually showing that you're an obnoxious jerk. Yes. All right, so those are the people that need to be pooped on. Next up, news and notes from the world. Play the music. Oh, it's always a good day when it's news and notes. Dun, dun, dun. Again, news and notes. These are things that are just quick takes, things that aren't necessarily big enough or expansive enough to go into an entire segment, but I feel you guys, as the listeners of the Mike Sasson Show, need to know it. Now, an update, as I said before, that Kanye West was meeting with Donald Trump. His meeting is over. They talked to Donald, Mr. President-elect, and he just basically said, yeah, he called me, and I said, why not? That's his answer. Yeah, we're friends, we're personal admirers of each other, and yes, I took the meeting, because why not? And I'm like, why not? Because hopefully you have better things to do. All right, again, news and notes. Speaking of the presidency, people are getting their panties in a bunch because the Obama family sent out their final Christmas card as president, and he never mentioned the word Christmas. He just said, happy holidays to everyone who supported me through this long journey, and thank you very much. God bless. Have a wonderful holiday season with your family. And someone's like, he never said Christmas. Again, I say Merry Christmas. It's my personal choice, but if you want to say Happy Holidays, that's great. People just get bent out of shape over nothing.
Oh, I think it's awful.
You really do think it's awful?
He probably went to Starbucks and started buying cups of coffee when they took away the snowflakes. He's an anti-Christmas bastard. And he's probably a Muslim.
Well, here's the thing. Personally, if he is those things, who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares? That's it. Who cares? Great. I honestly don't really care that Donald Trump met with Kanye West. I just think it's funny that the guy has nothing better to do. And I think it's really funny if you don't have anything better to do than to read the president's holiday card and notice that he didn't say Christmas. Great. He didn't. It's his Christmas card. He could say whatever he wants. He's not president in a month and a half.
As long as he's not out there, like, trampling on the Bible and saying, we gotta get rid of all religion in America and trample on your rights. Who cares?
Who really does care? Next up, Stephanie Tanner from Full House. I don't even know her real name. I could have found it. Didn't really care. But this month, she's going to appear in lingerie in Maxim, which, again, proves why it's amazing to be a guy, because you watch things as a kid, and you're like, you know what, someday I'm going to see her in lingerie as a grown woman.
She's cute now.
Yeah, she's very cute, yes. But it's one I put as a note, I go, I didn't think I wanted this, but it turns out, yeah, I did. Yeah, I completely wanted this. One of the greatest moments of my life was I was a huge Saved by the Bell fan, big fan of the big girl, whatever her name is.
Oh, yeah, I know who you mean.
Yeah, she was in Showgirls. So when she was naked in Showgirls, just absolutely one of the greatest moments of my life, because I was like, you know what? I saw her growing up. Now I get to see her naked again. Yay to be a man. Tickets to this past weekend's Browns-Bengal game were selling online for $1. And they still could not find people to watch that game. You know why? Because even at $1, it's overpriced. That's how bad the Cleveland Browns. It's the most Cleveland thing in the world. Like, there are just certain things that are just the most Cleveland thing in the world. And I spent a lot of time up there on business. Great people. It's basically Pittsburgh. Like, it's not even our cousin. They're our brother. Mm-hmm. We're the same city, essentially. Only the best thing that ever happened to Pittsburgh, in my opinion, was the steel industry just went kaput all at once. So we had to figure something else out. Whereas Cleveland, it was kind of just a slow drip. So that more or less their politicians were always just interested in managing attrition and making that that plant, it lost 5,000 jobs. Let's throw money at them. Oh, we only lost 2,000 jobs. Yay for us. And it just was drip, 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 drip. And so they didn't take care of everything else, whereas Pittsburgh, it was just like, all right, they're gone.
Yeah.
And then we just had to go from square one. But they just have this sensibility of like, okay, something bad is going to happen. And they all up there are willing to accept, because you always play the game. It's like, okay, if we won a championship, would you accept the Browns going 0-16? And they all probably said, yes, we will absolutely do it. And so right now they are living the reality of that. The most Cleveland thing ever is coming off the two most successful seasons combined that they could possibly imagine. The Indians going to the World Series and going to Game 7, and the Cavaliers winning the World Championship with, again, the most Cleveland thing ever, the Browns looking to go 0-16. And on top of that, Pittsburgh native and nice guy, because I met him, Terrell Pryor, apparently every week, everybody seems to be getting insanely pissed off with him. Every week, somebody is tweeting that they hate, that the opposing team hates Terrell Pryor. Like this past week, Pac-Man Jones basically just went off on him. And one of the things that, again, Pac-Man Jones, whatever, who cares what he thinks. But one thing that I thought was interesting was he sat there and goes, I did research. He was a suburb kid from Pittsburgh. And I'm like, dude, he's from Jeanette.
Yeah.
I understand if he, like, Fox Chapel, Wexford, Upper St. Clair. No, that's not Terrell Pryor. He's from Jeanette. It's like saying, it would be like saying Mike Dick is a suburb kid because he's from Aliquippa. Okay, it's not exactly the same thing. Go ahead.
I will say, living out that way, you do kind of feel like you're a suburb of Pittsburgh. Like when you go out of the area and people ask where are you from, you say I'm from Pittsburgh. Because I grew up in North Irwin, which is like a stone throw away from Jeanette.
But if you grew up in Jeanette, you're not exactly from a privileged background.
No.
Yeah, you're not exact. It's not exact.
No.
Yeah, you're not living with the CEO of U.S. Steel isn't like down the street.
No, definitely not.
Okay, yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make.
Because he was trying to say it was like he was ritzy.
Yeah, like he's trying to, like, his quote was like, he's trying to pretend like he's hard. He's a suburb kid from outside of Pittsburgh.
Oh, no, Jeanette. Oh, gosh, no. I lived in Jeanette for a year, and the roads are terrible. They've got this massive glass factory that's still standing. I think they finally just tore it down. But yeah, it's definitely a rundown city.
Yeah, not exact. Yeah, he didn't exactly grow up in the lap of luxury.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, so that's the point I'm making. And that's the point that, again, Pac-Man Jones being another idiot. Another news and notes. Madonna claims that all of the hatred that she has gotten in her life is due to sexism. Do you agree that all of the hatred that she has gotten in her life is due to sexism?
No, I think some of it's probably jealousy, too.
Here's my thing. I have immense respect for Madonna. I really do. Anybody that has stayed in the entertainment business and stayed as relevant as she has. Obviously she's not exactly, the cutting edge of music at this point, but still, if she does something, if she does a concert, she still sells tickets.
People still pay attention.
People still pay attention, especially even younger people who maybe weren't around for, the Like a Virgin, all that kind of good stuff. But here's her quote exactly. He says, I stand before you as a doormat. Oh, I mean as a female entertainer. Thank you for acknowledging my ability to continue my career for 34 years in the face of blatant sexism and misogyny and constant bullying and relentless abuse. She also says, if you're a girl, you have to play the game. You're allowed to be pretty and cute and sexy, but don't act too smart. Don't have an opinion that's out of line with the status quo. You're allowed to be objectified by men and dress like a slut, but don't own your sluttiness. And do not, and I repeat, do not, share your own sexual fantasies with the world. If that is bringing up the sex book, I agree that she should have gotten a little bit of slack for that, because I looked at that, and that was just kind of like, this is crap. But I almost think the same way about this as when people sat there and they say about Barack Obama and racism. Do I believe that there's a good percentage of Americans that hated Barack Obama purely because he was not white? Yes. Sure. Do I believe that there are certain people that crapped on Madonna and made fun of her and everything like that because of her, her gender? Sure. But I believe a good percentage of people with Barack Obama, it was more about his policies, which again, that's what happens when you're the president.
Sure.
And I think a good percentage of Madonna's detractors were because of essentially, if you're I almost equate this to Bill Maher said this once. He goes, as an entertainer, you can be safe and just kind of, as a football player, it's almost like just throw dump passes off to the side and high completion percentage. Or you can try to throw into tight coverage. And if you do throw into tight coverage, meaning take risks, sometimes the ball could get intercepted.
Yeah.
Madonna sometimes threw balls like the sex book and threw interceptions. That just happens. Over 34 years, you kind of miss sometimes. Now, some people, again, just didn't like the fact that a woman had power, but I do think that sometimes she did have some missteps and did kind of deserve to get a little bit ridiculed.
Well, she also was very cutting edge, and whenever you are somebody who's going to take risks, you're going to divide people. And I look at myself as a talk show host on my show. I talk about a lot of issues, and I've always gone with the belief if people don't hate you and love you, you're not doing your job. If you're just kind of, oh, your opinion matters, and oh, feel good, and, you know, pat this person on the back because they called in, you're not going to be very entertaining to me, and in my style of the way that I do talk radio. And I think she's kind of that way as a performer. She's been very provocative, and obviously a lot of people who are very conservative in their personal life, not so much fiscally, but, you know, conservative as far as their values, they're not going to jump onto the Madonna bandwagon. She's going to divide those people, and they're gonna have hard feelings towards her because they feel that she's, you know, ruining the values of the country or something along those lines.
But you know what the funny thing about it is? If you look at what she did back in like 1984, 1985, again, nothing compared to what we've seen over the last 5 years. So that's just how kind of things go. Moving on, the top 30 highest paid musicians came out. Now, I'm not going to go through all 30, but a couple ones that I thought were interesting. At 28, Mumford & Son last year made $40 million.
Wow.
Everybody always puts them as like the ultimate like hipster kind of like, you know, underground. You're not hipster or underground. You're making $40 million a year. Again, Elton John still making $42 million. Good for him. A soul-based Korean boy band, Big Bang, made $44 million.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even know who these people were. Foo Fighters last year made close to $50 million. Beyonce made $54 million, and Jay-Z made $53 million. So, again, that couple had a good year, well over $100 million. Kenny Chesney made $56 million, the same as Justin Bieber. Paul McCartney pulled in another $56 million. Throw that on top of the pile. Bruce Springsteen, again, you know, king of the working man, made $60 million. Diddy made $62 million. Doing what? I have no idea. AC/DC, $67 million. Good for them. You know, make your money. Garth Brooks, $70 million. Rihanna, $75 million. Again, Madonna, $76 million last year. Adele, $80 million. One Direction, $110 million. And at number one, who's it?
I don't know.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. I'm not surprised.
$170 million last year. So there you go. Mumford & Son, $40 million. Again, yeah, how does that happen? All right.
I do like them, though. I mean, I'm not surprised they're popular.
I'm not surprised they're popular, but again, I guess, you know, again, it's about how you present yourself. Again, Bruce Springsteen presents himself as the king of the working man. The guy's been making north of $50, $60 million a year since essentially the Born in the USA tour, and that was 1984.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't begrudge anybody making their money, but again, it's all about the presentation. Sure. These country guys, you know, the Kenny Chesneys and the Garth Brooks and the Toby Keiths and everything like that, they're playing them. I'll pick up truck and I'm getting my beer. I'm like, you're a CEO of a multi-million-dollar entertainment conglomerate. You're not drinking beer on a Saturday night with your pickup truck. You're just not doing it. To
Garth Brooks' credit, though, he really is a working man. When he came to Pittsburgh, how many shows did he put on?
Yeah, he put on 192 shows. Yeah. But here's Garth Brooks is one of the quietest, biggest Pittsburgh entities.
Yeah.
You know, like there's certain things that like people outside of Pittsburgh, you know, every time like the Steelers are playing on Sunday Night Football, they'll play Wiz Khalifa, Black and Yellow, they'll play Donnie Iris, you know, they'll go to Permane Brothers. I can't think of an act. Even Bon Jovi or Bruce Springsteen, or those are the two biggest like live acts that typically come to the city.
Yeah.
But the biggest live act that comes to the city, if he came here during the summer, he might be the only person that could play multiple nights at Heinz Field.
Yeah.
Because you think about those 6 shows, he sold out at Console Energy Center. So you're thinking that's, 80,000 people. If he did, you could too. I mean, I think in the summer with better roads, everything like that, he could get 50,000 into Heinz Field for 2 shows, 50,000 apiece. Make 100,000. Get 100,000 people in the area. Now, I wonder how many of those people are from the outlying areas. How many of those people are West Virginia, Ohio, from the Steubenvilles, all that kind of world. But a good percentage of them. I know my sister and my brother went to that show and stuff like that. But again, it's all about your presentation. It's not even who you are.
Yeah.
It's how you present yourself as an entity of like, okay, these are the people that I talk to. And, again, Bruce Springsteen, I always bring that up. He's always like, you're my daddy. I'm like, dude, you drive a Bentley and your daughter is one of the biggest equestrian horse riders on the planet.
Wow.
That's not exactly the working man of the world. So that was news and notes. Now, finally, I want to connect this again. I think I lost the cord.
Oh, did you lose the cord? There it is.
There it
All
is.
right.
I always try to leave people with something nice. So this is the new segment. I says, I'll leave you with this. So if you can play the...
If it plays.
There you go.
That's great. It starts with an earthquake, birds and snakes, an airplane, and Lenny Bruce is not afraid. I have a hurricane. Listen to yourself. Turn world.
Not a lot of... I think not enough people were... thinking about this last week, but December 7th this past year was the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. And I'm a semi-history buff. And obviously that one of the moments that really this world changed was December 7th. And everyone talks about, quote unquote, the greatest generation and all this kind of stuff. And, I sometimes kind of downplay it and everything like, oh, no, they weren't that. But there's something about those guys, especially the ones that fought in WW2, fought in World War II. They have this spirit. They have this kind of an inner drive that's special about those people. And I saw this. This is from the NBC Nightly News. It was a veteran who was a survivor of Pearl Harbor. He's 104 years old right now. 3 years ago, he made a decision that he was going to do everything in his power to make it to the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. So at the time, he was 101 years old. So he decides to get in the gym and work out. So here's the news story from NBC Nightly News.
Seems especially fitting
Push, push, push.
when describing Ray Chavez,
Keep breathing.
an unlikely gym rat
You're running marathons in no time.
who's defying his age. May I ask, how old are you now?
104.
He first became a survivor that December morning in 1941.
I can't forget it. I never will.
Chavez was in the Navy stationed at Pearl Harbor when the bombing started.
I got very emotional that day. There were so many innocent people that were lost.
Chavez often returns to Hawaii to honor those who died.
Tap and then over.
But at 104, could he possibly be in any shape to make the long trip again?
You getting Hawaiian shirts already, Ray?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
The answer is yes. 3 years ago, he started working out with trainer Sean Thompson, putting on 20 pounds of much-needed muscle.
Nice. When they say, I'm too old to do this or that, I say, yeah, look at Ray. You can't, that excuse doesn't fly anymore.
20 pounds of added muscle at 104 years old, Brian.
Wow.
I mean, if that doesn't because to me, I think if you are lucky enough to die of natural causes, and that's how you have to view it, because most people in this world, a lot of them in the world, don't get that luxury.
Sure.
But if you are lucky enough to die of natural causes, then in my opinion, if you want to sit there and really live life, you need a goal. And this guy, again, had a goal. I'm going to be at the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor to honor the people that didn't get to live the life that I did.
Wow.
And he didn't just wish it. He didn't just wake up and go, man, I really want to be there. Man, I really want to be there. He got in the gym and put on 20 pounds of muscle. All right? A 25-year-old would have a tough time putting on 20 pounds of muscle. This guy did it at 104 years old. So in my opinion, it kind of is a great example of how you achieve really anything. You have a goal, but then you decide, what do I have to do to reach that goal? And then you do the work to get there. So I'll leave you with that. Again, we'll be back next week. It's the Mike Sasson Show. Thank you again very much to Brian Crawford. And also, Alex, I hope you're feeling better. It's the River's Edge, www.riversedgepgh.com. Thank you very much to everyone listening. Thank you, everybody who comes up to me and or Alex or to Brian and comments about the show. We appreciate every single one of you. Again, we'll be back next week with the Christmas show. Hopefully, Alex will be better by then. But again, thank you to Brian. Thank you to the Godfather. Thank you to the River's Edge. My name's Mike Sasson. See you next week.